Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Coin Drop podcast, beta episode 14. Are we on 14 or 15 now, Mike? Do you know?
This would be 15 because we didn't do
15.
one last week.
Right. So there was a week gap there. I do apologize for that. I was out of town, and Tim had some personal stuff come up, so the last episode was me and Mike, and once again, it's me and Mike. So welcome back, and to those of you who might be new listeners, welcome. For those of you who are new, we do stream these episodes live Saturday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard. You're more than welcome to join us on Twitch at twitch.tv/CoinDropVets. You can watch us there live, interact with us, talk with us, all kinds of good stuff. So Mike, it's been 2 weeks since we've done an episode, and it's been an eventful 2 weeks for me. How about you? Have you been up to anything fun?
Yes and no. I kind of got back into VR a little bit. I did a stream a couple nights ago of Ghost of Tabor, which is like Escape from Tarkov, but VR. It was absolutely terrifying.
Nice.
And then for the last 3 hours of my stream, I remembered that I had pre-ordered it, so I had a bunch of item bonuses. So for 3 hours of my stream, I was literally just putting shit on shelves.
Nice. Yeah, you sent me a clip, your TikTok that you did for that you cut for that, and it broke me a little bit. I was dying laughing because you had told somebody who said he was in a fixed seated position to unfix himself. Yeah, and that just, for whatever reason, I don't know, that just hit the funny bone real good for me. I was chuckling real good at that one. So tonight we've got a couple of good topics for you guys. Nothing crazy out there, but some good news to talk about. Some Fable 4 news to start, I suppose. This could be a nothing sandwich, or this could be potentially really bad. So recently, the Fable 4, I keep wanting to say Diablo 4, I've been playing too much Diablo 4. The Fable 4 narrative lead announced that she was departing the project. So this could be nothing at all, right? This could just mean hey, her time's done, the story's done, it's written, there's really nothing left for her to do, she's moving on to a different project, she got a job offer somewhere else, whatever. However, personally, I feel like that's not the case, only because if this game is that close to being done, I feel like we would have seen an actual announcement date, or at least a release window, a window at the very least, right, during the Microsoft press conference. So what's your kind of takeaway? I mean, it seemed pretty straightforward. Doesn't sound like she was let go or anything. Her actual tweet that went out on Twitter, because that's how everybody in the world communicates these days, was friends. She posted this on the 14th, so yesterday. Friends, I have news. In August, I'm stepping away from my role as narrative lead on Fable. I've had several wonderful years scribbling away in my fairy tale cottage, but the time feels right for new challenges. So that, to me, alludes to the fact that she's been working on the project for a very long time, and maybe they are further into development than we think. But if that's the case, why didn't we see a release window?
I'm kind of half and half with this, because I agree with what Tim was saying in that the game very well could be at a point in its lifespan of development where the story's finalized. There's no need for extra narrative or whatever. But then at the same time, things change all the fucking time. So if they decide to cut some section and it interferes with the current narrative, now what?
Yeah.
But at this, like you said, we would have had at least some sort of window, like a holiday 2023 or spring 2024 or something like that. So I don't know how to take it. But again, I'm one of those people that saw the cinematic trailer for Fable 4 back in God, was it 2014?
2018. Because Tim and I were there, and we were like, what the fuck was that? Cool, and then there was nothing.
Yeah, and then nothing happened, and everyone kind of just was like, okay. And then they released some new trailer for some weird fantasy dragon RPG that you co-inhabit with some dragons. I don't even remember what the game was about, but I remember that was supposed to be published by the people that were supposed to be working on Fable 4 at the time. So then everybody was like, well, then what the fuck happened to Fable 4?
Yep.
And then that dragon weird thing got canceled, and now we're back on Fable 4. So I don't. If the game comes out, great. If it doesn't, I'm not missing out.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird choice to walk away from a game that isn't even out yet. And then here's the other thing, right? If she was the narrative lead, right? She was the narrative lead on this game. What? Are we not doing a trilogy? Are we going to do one and done? Are we going to go a completely different direction the way like Fable 2 did? Like, are we going to make these kind of standalone games? Because like Pierre Molyneux is a lying sack of shit 100% of the time. But I don't hold that against him. I think he's actually like got a medical disorder there. I think he like legitimately just can't tell the truth. But like all of the Fable games take place in the same universe, right? So are we going to continue that? Or is this going to be the start of a franchise that's actually going to have a congruent story that's going to go all the way across? It seems like a weird choice to walk away from what should be a franchise before we even have like a release window. And like you said, if they change something in development that intersects with the narrative, fuck, I guess.
Yeah. That's the other thing that when this new trailer came out, I was really confused about where we were in the story, because the third one, at least in I think in the trailer for the third one, it was like it kind of called back to some of the stuff from the second game, even though the second game was just like fuck the first game entirely.
Yeah.
To me, from what we have at least now currently, from the most recent trailer, it seems like this is going to be like God of War, where they were like, this is God of War 4, but it's a reboot, so we're just going to call it God of War. So now I'm wondering if this is Fable 4, but it's a reboot, so we're just going to call it Fable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's the takeaway I had, which I'm not opposed to, right? So I'm not opposed to that idea. I think they did a good job with God of War, still tying it back. I actually been playing it recently. I've gotten further, believe it or not. Still haven't beaten it. I've been played it a little bit on my trip to California. Still tying it back to its roots, but like having it not be dependent on playing those games. And Fable was never really a game where you had to play the previous one to like pick up the story and go. It was just more Easter eggs, and like 2, you kind of could piece together through 2 that you were actually like the grandchild of the character from 1. If I remember correctly. And then 3 was kind of like fuck the other 2, if I remember correctly.
More or less, yeah.
It had like more Easter eggs. It didn't have like direct ties kind of thing. I think Reaver was still in 3 somehow because he was still alive. Because anyways, unimportant.
Villains never die. What are you talking about?
It's a weird time to like say, hey, I'm going to leave this game that is, for all intents and purposes, still in development, has been in development now for almost... Oh God, what's that? Almost 6 years. If it was 2018, we're at 20, so 7 years roughly. It's been in development,
give or take.
Well, announced development. It could very well be in development for 8 years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It seems weird. It could be nothing. Could be literally just we're overthinking this. She's moving on. Narrative's done, game's done, and they're just gonna kind of, maybe they'll pull a Nintendo, and like the next announcement will be like, oh, by the way, holiday 2023, and everybody will lose their mind, like, what, we're actually announcing a game that's coming this year? Wild. Because, Nintendo's the only one that does that anymore.
So apparently.
So, I don't know. I'm kind of hopeful that maybe this means the game's closer to being done than we think it is.
I'm gonna sit on my throne of reservation and expect the worst. And if it actually happens, then great. If not, again, I've seen all the yeses and nos from Fable 4 at this point. Yeah. So for those listening, I'm shrugging my shoulders.
For the audio listeners, Mike's standing there like, I don't fucking know. He's doing the fuck. I
have my shoulders in my skull right now. Yeah.
Wedged between his ears. I'll say this. When this comes out, I might get Game Pass.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. Why would I buy any game? Why would I buy any Microsoft game
if I can
ever?
beat it in 25 hours, I'm only gonna pay $1 for it.
Even if I don't, I'm gonna pay what, 11 the first month and the second month. Like,
yeah,
I'm definitely gonna beat it in 2.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It just, God, Game Pass is such a dumb idea. Like, great for gamers, but as a business, how are they still standing? Don't understand. So yeah, that's kind of it with Fable 4. It could be a nothing sandwich, but I thought it was worth talking about. So let's go ahead and move on then to another actually really good topic, and I have some personal insight on this one. So Destiny 2, as we know, is a game that is loved and hated and revered and despised and everything in between. And then you have people like Tim who just really just don't care, period. There was, however, one individual that cared so much.
Too much.
He actually, way too much. You might say this man was the far side of fanatic, the extremist side of fanatic, to the point where Bungie has actually managed to sue this individual who was terrorizing their community director, basically the community manager, and they won. Now, you might say, what? That's crazy for comments online. No, my friends. No. This guy is being charged $500,000 for straight up, no joke, nothing less than legitimate domestic terrorism. And that's not an exaggeration. It's not an exaggeration. This man took it a step further than making complaints and complaining and being grumpy and just a disgruntled piece of shit on the internet that makes complaints about a game that they claim to love and saying that everybody's an asshole and everybody's a piece of shit because Lightfall is this or that or whatever the fuck it was. Still haven't played Lightfall. Eventually I will. I don't give that much of a fuck. This man found out the personal number, phone number, and the address of the community manager. He was leaving incredibly racist voicemails for her daily. He was leaving threatening voicemails daily. He went so far as to constantly order mass amounts of pizza to her house and just basically swatted her house with pizza. He, if I remember correctly, now this isn't in the article, but I'm pretty sure this is actual, like legit. He slashed her tires. He did damage to her home, to her vehicle. He genuinely made this lady live in fear because of this guy's actions. I believe he did actually, yes. So per this article from Forbes.com, he was now actually sending things to her house, to their house, made them feel for their safety. This could easily escalate to swatting. It became a whole big issue. From what I remember my brother telling me, there was some additional stuff in here. Like I said, if I remember correctly, he like slashed her tires, wrote super profane messages all over her car, like just did the worst human things possible to this person. All over a video game. Let's be real here, guys. It's a fucking video game. Go outside and see the sun.
Touch grass. Kick rocks.
Yes. But like, no video game is that fucking important.
Let me rephrase. Go outside and get some sunlight without being a violent scumbag.
Without being a domestic terrorist and terrorizing somebody whose whole job is public relations. Like, that's the worst part, dude, is like, it's in her job description to have to deal with the public. So I bet you...
To make that whole thing shittier, her involvement with the development of Lightfall is like... So one of the devs was like, hey, someone might send us some like shitty messages. Can you handle it? And she's like, sure. That's all her involvement. She didn't help develop the fucking game.
Yeah. She's literally just a point of contact, right? She's there to do the same thing any other community manager does. Pez Radar for Diablo, his job is like, these are the patch notes. This is what the team's working on. We're going to do a live stream. Hey, I'm here. I'm Pez Radar. This is what's going on. He's the point of contact. He's not an actual, like, he's a dev because he's part of the team, just like this individual was. They're a part of the team. They're developers. But they're not the people making the decisions. They're the people relaying the information. So yelling at them, I get, like, you know, first point of contact kind of thing. I understand. But this is so far and away unacceptable that I hope this sets a precedent moving forward. And I feel like that's part of why it's $500,000 fine. Is like the judge was like, shut this shit down. Like, this shit needs to be never happening. I would take it a step further.
Is he like in prison with the fine being his like bail, or is he like freely walking around?
So
I mean, there's no way he's gonna pay the fine. So absolutely, he's gonna end up in prison in like a year anyway. But
so to all of this that happened, Bungie's response, and this is quoted directly from Forbes, Bungie's response to this was to send out, quote, executive protection. Now let me tell you, private security protection, that's no fucking joke. That's a big fucking deal, especially on a corporate. We're talking executive protection. This wasn't private security. This says, in quotes, executive protection. That's high level shit. That's
if I could.
Yeah.
A lot of executive protection. I don't know if they're still involved with Hasbro, but Hasbro basically bought them. This is from like years back. Remember the Pinkertons? The Pinkertons were a huge thing back in like when the advancement of law into the lawless west of America or whatever.
They're still a thing, aren't they?
Yes, but at some point the U.S. government was like, "Y'all are fucking crazy, so you're fired."
Sounds right.
Because what ended up happening is they started breaking laws that were put in place to help enforce, like, make sure they weren't like just killing people for shits and giggles, because they were literally enacting what we would consider Wild
martial
West.
Law. Yeah.
Martial law, but in like a Wild West fashion. So there was no like prejudice to it. It was just like, you fucking just said what at the bar, and then just like
bang!
Mid-bar fight, just bang. Yeah, like, so at some point the US government was like, y'all are crazy, so you're fired. Like, we don't want any more involvement. Hasbro hired them.
Weird company to hire them, but okay.
Fucking companies.
Okay.
And I remember reading this article months ago. It wasn't really anything like that happened recently. It was just like something that popped up of like the history of Hasbro and its involvement with Pinkertons or some shit like that. And there was this guy that I guess he ordered some Lego set, right? And it was a limited edition Lego set. Hasbro sent him the wrong fucking set. They sent him something they didn't release yet. So it like there was no press about it. There was nothing online, nothing in stores. And the guy contacted Hasbro and was like, "Hey, this isn't what I ordered." And they were like, in reaction, they were like, "Cool, have Pinkertons." So this guy was just trying to like fix his fucking order and give and like genuinely like cooperate and be like, "Here's the item that I'm not supposed to have for all intents and legal purposes." And they sent Pinkertons to this person's house.
Jesus.
And they like raided his home.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But like not like a typical like law enforcement where like they just came in and just fuck shit up just to fuck shit up. And I imagine the whole time he's just like, "I'm trying to give you the fucking Lego, like just take it, please.
Stop resisting. I'm laying on the ground. What do you want me to do? Stop resisting. I'm not moving."
Yeah. He's like they already have the Lego set in their head. They're just like, "Stop resisting."
Like, we laugh, but that's horrible. That's genuinely horrible.
This apparently happened like back in like the 90s or some shit.
Jesus Christ.
But when someone says like executive security, that's what I think of. That's
probably pretty
terrifying.
Accurate. That's probably pretty accurate. So the rest of the quote goes on. Sent out executive protection within hours of the pizza incident and notified local police. Then the investigation began to uncover who was behind it. And we ended up with this case, which resulted in a default judgment of $489,435.52.
Good luck paying that, bro.
Yeah, no, this guy's going to jail.
I would just go to jail now.
Yeah, just
at least
do not pass go.
Time served, like.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Yeah. Say goodbye to your life.
Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So,
it's probably better than getting shot by a bunch of Pinkertons.
Yeah.
Ugh, shitty jokes. Let's move on from that.
Anyways, yeah, it's wild. I think this needs to go. look, I'm not saying it needs to go further, but it kind of needs to go further, right? People have become so shitty on the internet that they say anything because they have the freedom to do so. It's a common issue with all forms of social media.
Yeah.
All avenues of the internet where anybody can share anything. And I really hope at some point we get to a point where there's some kind of check and balance system. I know a couple of sites have implemented stuff that kind of does it. Like, I believe Reddit's Karma kind of balances and lets you know kind of, not necessarily like where people stand, but like whether or not you're dealing with a shitty individual, kind of, or not. But those metrics are also really vague, and like you can, I wouldn't say quote unquote accidentally, but like you can have a bad day on the internet and somebody could set you off with something. And like, I get that shit happens, but it should never get to the level that this guy got to. Like,
Twitter also kind of has one now too, where it's like, if you go to a tweet and you click on like to read the comments and you're like scrolling through, if you scroll to the bottom, sometimes you'll see a little notice where it's like tweets by this specific type of profile or this specific type of personality are hidden, and then it gives you the option to view them if you want to view them. There's another one that they have in place. They've had it in place for a while, but it's kind of a little more reinforced. If you're responding to someone and you use any of the like terms that could the AI could flag as like you're verbally attacking someone, or you're just any protected thing, more or less.
Sure.
It'll say, "Are you sure you want to send this tweet? It's not a tweet that is known to be sent often." And again, it still gives you the like, yeah, fuck it, send it. But then that puts you at risk for being like flagged. And what they'll do is they'll literally just delete the tweet and then suspend your account. But again, that's like a slap on the wrist in comparison to just being like, ban.
Yeah. It gives you the option to, like, it doesn't. That's the thing, right? Is like I'm very much a freedom of speech guy. I think that like freedom of speech is an important thing to this nation to an extent.
It goes both ways. Freedom of speech isn't necessarily a lack of reaction.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. So like you can say, you know, fuck this person for this reason, that reason, the next thing. That doesn't mean you're exempt from them being like,
fuck you.
No, and here's why.
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. It goes both ways. Like many things, it's a double-edged sword, but it's important that those rights are maintained. But I think as a species, need to get on this idea that the internet is not used for airing dirty laundry and not used to bitch. Because that's 90% of what we use. Dude, you get mad, what's the first thing you do? You whip out Twitter and be like, this motherfucker. Like, that's the first thing we go to, is to just vent to the rest of the world, because we want everybody else to tell us we're justified in being upset.
And I understand if it's like you, like if you're, like if, let's say if I go to Best Buy, right, and I buy headphones. Best Buy's return policy is really shit. So the second you open that box, that's it. You can't return it. You get credit or you can exchange. That's it.
Yep.
But a lot of the times, the manufacturer warranties are by far better than whatever Best Buy's exchange policy is. And they'll just send you a new fucking product. You just show them the receipt like, hey, I bought it, whatever. But the shitty thing is that 9 times out of 10, the way to get in contact with their like PR customer service people is through Twitter. So you have to go to Twitter and be like, I just bought this thing and it's doing this and it's not supposed to do this. It's supposed to act like this. It's not working. And then that kind of brings it back in circle where it's like people get on and they're like, fuck Best Buy, fuck Sony. Yep. I bought these headphones. Yeah, like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's a part of me that wonders if Elon Musk bought Twitter to make all these changes just to shut it down. Like, it almost feels that way. I'm just going to say, like, there's some things where I'm like, is he just trying to kill Twitter? Because that's what it seems like, and I'd be okay with that.
I'm for it.
Yeah, I'd be okay with it. Fuck it, kill it.
We're going bankrupt. Oh, yeah, that's fine. That's the whole point.
Yep, that's the plan. That's the plan.
We're in the green.
Yep. But yeah, anyways, like, I think there needs to be more of this, like, you can't just do whatever you want on the internet. I really hope the generations under us learn from what we've done and change how this works moving forward, because we're kind of like we're the internet generation, right?
Yeah.
Like I grew up without the internet, and then it was a thing.
My girlfriend and I mess with her brother all the time because he does not believe that the sound of the dying robots on the phone line when you were on like the internet back in like the early 2000s and late 90s,
the fax noises
or whatever on your like fucking e-machine, and your mom gets a phone call, the internet goes down, and then on her line she just hears just like a bunch of like robotic noises. He didn't believe that was a thing, and I showed him a video or like an audio clip, and he was just like, no, it's not real. It's fake. Someone made that.
I can't wait to tell my daughter I'm older than Google. She's not. I can't wait to tell her I'm older than the internet as like a mass thing. Like obviously the internet was created like back in the 60s, 70s, but like as an available consumer product, I'm older than the internet.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be wild. And yeah. So anyways, we're getting a bit off topic. Bottom line, don't be a dick. And definitely don't be so much of a dick that you fucking find out where a community manager lives for a game you claim to love and now think that, like, for some reason, because this specific person who's the community manager is not the same race as you, is the reason the game is shit, which I don't know what kind of Common Core nonsense math you're getting there to get 2 + 2 = 27, but goddamn, don't be that guy.
Yeah.
End of story. End of story.
If I can reinforce what you're saying, if you want the next patch or even the next game to resemble something that you think is in line with what you need or what you want for a game, the way not to do that is to scare developers. The way to do it is to suggest and use the feedback that they have open. You can go to their fucking... Bungie has a Discord. They have a feedback channel. Go to the channel, open a support ticket, and be like, hey, I think this thing would be cool to add. Cool. Wait a couple months. If it still hasn't been added, open another one. Feedback. Hey, here's my old feedback ticket number. I still think it'd be cool to add this thing. Submit. And just do that.
Or just a caveat to that.
You attract more flies with honey than you do with vinegar.
If they actually have the time, because let's be real, like especially with live service games or games that are like constantly being updated or patches are being made, whatever. If they actually have the time to respond to you, and they say, "Well, we can't do it right now," don't be a dick and be like, "Oh, fucking why not?" Just know that you were heard and be like, "Cool, man. Appreciate it." If it's still not implemented in like 6-8 months, maybe be like, hey man, do you have a status update on this? Just don't. General rules for don't be a dick.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all it is. I'm not going to harp on this anymore. I'm pretty sure most of our listeners are decent people. I'm sure most of you are tired of hearing me talk about dicks on the internet, since there's millions of them. We're going to move on. So we talked about this game. Tim and I talked about this game when I first had this come across my desk. This game is called Enshrouded, and if you guys haven't heard about it, it's a new survival adventure game, like so many others that have spawned since Minecraft. But this one does stuff a little bit different. It's voxel based, kind of like Valheim, but it also appears to have like an actual story to the game, which is something I've said for a long time now needs to happen in these survival games. There's been a couple that have done it. I've said it before. The Forest and things like that have done it, but they haven't done it in a way where it makes it like it kind of, the story negates the reason to build because the whole story is traveling around the island. So why even bother building a base if you're going to continue? It doesn't give you a reason to build in Forest. I don't know about Sons of the Forest. I assume it's probably more the same. I don't know.
It's a little more front facing about it. It's like you need to build shelter to survive because like you need the shelter to sleep and save, and then you also need the shelter to like build a fire and stay warm because they have like temperatures and things like that you have to deal with, as well as hunger storage. Or food storage, sorry.
Hunger storage. Storing
your hunger.
Yes.
Now you have food storage now, you have water storage, things like that. So that's a little bit more front facing. It was similar in the first game. It was just a little more like from the back. Like it didn't hold your hand and direct you into it. They kind of looked at it as like common sense would say that you should make a shelter so you can survive. But like common sense, as we've just established with the last topic, is not really a thing. Yeah. And I'd also like to add a sub note to the Valheim. It does have a story because someone is going to hear this either now or later and flip the fuck out.
You're right.
It's just, again, not hand holding.
Front facing.
So you have to
It's not front facing. It's
not
lore, and then you've got like boss battles. Yeah. Like it's not a storyline. You're not playing a narrative. It's hey, you're existing in Valheim. This is the purgatory world, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember my Norse correctly. And you have all these bosses you need to kill to actually get to Valhalla. Is kind of, from my understanding, the story. But it's lore. Like it's built into the world kind of the way Ark is. But this one appears to legitimately have a story. So we'll see if that's actually the case or not. Graphics are, I wouldn't say like hyper realistic, but stylized realistic. I would honestly say that this game looks more like a real successor to Fable than Fable 4 does. I would compare. I would compare like it's a third person adventure survival, crafting survival, building survival game. Did I say survival enough times?
I think so, yeah.
Voxel-based building system. So for anybody who played Valheim, who played EverQuest, Next, or Landmark, I think it was Landmark because they canceled Next. I don't even know if Landmark's still a thing. That's a sad thought. You can build anywhere, do anything. Very cool looking game. So shout out to them. Check them out. It's Keen Games. They're a German company, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty sure it's coming to all platforms. At the very least, it will definitely be on PC. It's on Steam. Check it out. Wishlist it if this looks like something you're interested in. I'm definitely going to play it. I'm actually hoping I might be able to get a copy from the devs so we can talk more about it once it comes out. But it looks great. I'm genuinely interested in this one. And the base building mechanics, just watching the video, looks so fun. I could lose hundreds of hours of my life to this game just building a single wall. Be like, nope, don't like that voxel.
The game that puts Diablo 4 to the back burner for Russ? That's fucking crazy.
Well, look, Season 1 for Diablo 4 comes out in, 5 days now? Less than 5 days, because we're towards the end of this day. Once I finish Season 1, it's going back burnered, because, until Season 2, I don't need to touch Diablo. So, it's going to be Diablo's back burnered, and hey, guess what comes out next month? Oh, yeah, that's right, Baldur's Gate 3. So my next 150-hour journey starts very quickly.
But from what I saw in the video for I already forgot the name of the game. That's super fucking embarrassing.
Enshrouded.
Enshrouded. Yeah, that one. That's the one.
I did the same thing the first time we talked about it, so you're good.
Yeah, the way the voxels adapted based on how you set up your structure. So there was a clip there where he had a bunch of he was setting up walls, and then at the end he flipped it. He rotated it 90 degrees, and it added a little pillar gap there to the corner. Yeah. It filled in the gap with a stone pillar, and then added the wall. And then the next one, he actually put a wall down and cut out a door. So I think that's pretty great way to do the base building thing without all the complications of going back to Sons of the Forest. If you want to put a door in your fucking wooden log wall, you actually have to pull your axe and then select a thing and then hit it just right. Otherwise it just chops the wall in half. So
Jesus. I mean, there's something to be said about the realistic side of crafting in Sons of the Forest too, but definitely not precision crafting in that aspect.
Oh yeah, right? not at all. Yeah. So, having that simplified way to do it in Enshrouded is a good step back.
It's also, they also mentioned they have blueprints. I don't know how expansive that is, but you can literally set it up so you can have, from my understanding, what they show is the pillars that he's placing in that video that Mike was just talking about, is that's him already having a blueprint so he can make walls super quickly. So you don't have to place each individual voxel. I don't know how big that goes to the point where you can blueprint an entire base, and then as long as you have the crafting materials, just snap it into existence. Like Thanos.
I feel like that'd be. I feel like that'd be too easy to do to just blueprint a whole base. But if the game is anything like other, survival base building things that support mods, I'm sure someone's just going to be have a whole base.
Yeah.
Snap.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly would really like that, because if I'm very happy with the base I built, but like narratively I have to leave, or there's another area that has better resources, I would love to be able to just be like, man, I don't want to fucking lose this and have to build it all again. Oh, I can just blueprint it, go over to this new area, boom. Awesome. Yeah. Love it. Love it.
Copy paste.
Yeah. Yeah. And just have giant phallic bases all over the map, because that's what somebody's gonna do.
Yep.
Yep. So yeah, that's Enshrouded. You can wishlist it on Steam. Check it out. Look up the videos. Tell the devs you're interested. Say hi. I don't care. It looks cool. You know what? I guess it's a short episode. Mike, before we get out of here, do you have any other topics you want to discuss before we move over to the Patreon side? That was really all I had planned tonight. We kind of burned through it a little bit. So I don't know if you got anything else, or if this is just going to be a short episode today.
I guess we could do a couple call-outs to some discoveries I've made.
Sure.
I'm going to talk about the controller. GillyKit has a Target exclusive, quote unquote. I mean, I've seen it on Amazon, but people are calling it a Target exclusive. Hall effect equipped controller. For those that don't know what a Hall effect is, it uses electromagnetism in the analog sticks. In this case, also the triggers. So a typical analog stick will just have an X and Y sensor on it. And over time, those wear down. They get dirty. The plastic inside will start to wear away. And that's where you get ghost mapping or ghost input, stick drift, Joy-Cons. We're super problematic with that. GillyKit ended up not only releasing Hall effect replacements for Joy-Cons, but they also make their own controllers now. So the one I have is called I have the box here somewhere.
Mike,
the Zen Pro. The Zen Pro. It's called the Zen Pro wireless controller. It's like $40 or $50 at Target or Amazon, depending where you get it. And the idea is the triggers and the sticks on the controller will last up to 10 years. The buttons on the face will die before the triggers or the analog sticks do, for sure. Other than that, it supports literally everything. I can connect it to my Android phone, set up some settings for it, then switch it and connect it to my iPad, set up more settings, switch it to my computer, set up more settings, switch it to my PlayStation 5, and set up more settings on that. And it's all configured on the controller. It has actual
storage,
CPUs in it and storage and stuff like that. So it knows when you connect to a specific device which mapping to load. So on the Switch, it'll keep the BAYX configuration. And then when I switch it to an Xbox or my computer, it will just change it to ABXY. It just knows. It's great.
How much was that, if you don't mind me asking?
I got mine on sale at Target. I think it was $40 and some change after tax.
That's actually really impressive for that kind of controller.
Yeah.
That's a lot more reasonable than I expected. I paid. I got a classic Boba Fett Xbox Series X controller, $100. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I ended up getting it because I had two Xbox controllers. I had one, the one that came out with the series models.
Okay.
That lasted me a year, and then I had another one that I had gotten just as an extra, just in case, or a 2-player situation. The analog stick for the camera control on my Series S controller got god awful bad. I would literally just touch it, and then it would just zip the camera straight up. That's how bad the drift on it was.
That's real nasty.
So I had the idea to try and take it apart. It didn't end up fixing it. So then I just switched to my extra one, and I threw the old one out. And then I noticed that one's also now getting drift on the same fucking analog stick in the same spot with the camera going up just randomly. So I was like, great, now I gotta figure out what to do. So I ended up just getting one with a Hall effect stick because I'm not trying to buy another controller in a year.
Yeah, I don't blame you. The only other thing I've got is if you are playing Diablo 4 and you have not heard, Season 1 starts on the 20th, and make sure that you get your Fog of War and your Lilith statues all done on whatever character you're playing, or multiple characters, because on the 18th, you'll be able to log into those characters. It'll upload that data to your account, and it will actually transfer to your season character. So you'll still have to get the waypoints, you'll still have to do everything else, but you won't have to do the Fog of War and the Lilith statues, which is kind of nice, because that means you start out with some extra power at the start of the game. So if you're not aware of that, there you go. Other than that, I don't have anything left. Mike, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
I do have one more quick topic, another game shout out. There is this super small dev team. I have no idea where they're based. It's literally like less than 10, I think. Less than 10 people. They're making this like open world multiplayer survival horror game where it's like you and up to, I think, 3 or 4 other friends load into this map, and you have a bunch of like missions and stuff to do. But the game is called Surrounded. I'll read this story here real quick. It says, 30 years ago, a remote laboratory researching black matter and dark energy had a complete system meltdown, causing it and the surrounding forest and village to become affected. Back then, the government sent in agents to survey the destruction and to check for survivors. They were never seen or heard from ever again. Eventually, the government sent agents to contain any possible infection, sealing off the area and warning any remaining residents to never enter this place. Today, 30 years later, you and your friends heard rumors of monsters roaming these woods. Typical fucking TikTok kids.
Yep. 100%.
Rumors of shadows lurking in the woods, of eerie sounds coming from the ground. But you, my friend, are facing that danger with your friends head on. Then it says, go, my friend, prove that you are in fact not surrounded by monsters lurking in the dark. So the idea is that you're basically just like, no, bullshit. I mean, shit, obviously, like, it's legit. So some of the features, it's like immersive atmospheric experience, hyper-realistic graphics and sounds rendered in Unreal Engine 5. Multiplayer, obviously.
Yeah.
Interactive world. The world is fully dynamic and explorable. You can access every single door, interact with most items, and much more. The AI that they have for creatures reacts to sound, so stay quiet. I don't know if they have any like in-game mic interaction or if they plan to add that, but I sure fucking hope they do. Surrounded features a huge open world map for you to explore, hide, search, and so much more. There are forests, buildings, and maybe even some hidden structures to explore. I've literally played like 10 minutes of it, and the atmosphere is fucking terrifying. I haven't even like gotten to a monster. I literally just loaded in. It gave me like little intro sequence where it was like, find some fuses to power this little station or something that you need to figure out. And I entered the area and I was like, I need to get ready for the podcast. Yeah.
So while as soon as you mentioned this, I pulled it up on Steam, and it's $8.99 on Steam right now, guys. It's in early access.
It launched yesterday. It's been in development, or in public eye, quote unquote, since last year, but it's been in development for a little longer than that. Obviously, the game, since it literally just had its first patch from an indie studio, it's not complete by any means. It will have problems. Don't do what other people are doing already and just going to the Steam page and saying, this game is fucking awful. It's been out for less than 48 hours.
Yeah, there's 75 reviews on it already, and it's mixed, and it's been out for less than 24 hours. So
yeah. Most of the reviews are just people that are running into bugs and... Yeah, I'm sure. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and call it right now, Mike. I'm gonna buy this. We're gonna play it. Yeah.
So yeah, I am down. This looks. So. Yeah, that's why I said I'm gonna buy it. We're gonna play it. So if you guys want to watch us play that, check out the Twitch. Coin drop. Bets. Jesus Christ! I can't. Yes, that one. Coin drop bets. Holy shit, that was amazing. Coin drop bets. Twitch.tv/CoinDropBets. We'll have a video up. I'm going to stream it. This looks like it's going to be a good time. Make sure.
So we are streaming tonight now?
I am. This looks amazing. Fuck Diablo 4 for now. This looks amazing. So be back here if you're watching currently. If you're watching this in the future, go check out the Twitch. You'll see the video of us streaming. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sharing us. And Patreon listeners, we'll be back with you in just a minute. Have a great night, everyone.